Welcome, everybody. I'm Adam Rogers from the Partner Content Marketing team. I'm glad to be joined by Brennan Loh, who is Director of International Markets for Shopify. We're excited to share with you how we're making it easier for you to reach new markets by removing the barriers to going international. At the end of the webinar, Brennan will be answering your questions. To ask a question, please use the chat box on the right and drop your questions in there. Feel free to do this at any time throughout the webinar. Now I hand this over to Brennan to lead us through Shopify Partners Go Global, why and how to make referrals across borders.
Thanks, Adam. And welcome to all the Shopify partners that have joined into the webinar. We really appreciate you taking the time and knowing we have partners joining today from all over the world, whether it's the morning or the afternoon or the evening. Thank you for making the time to be here with us today, and excited to share a lot of fun news with you about bringing Shopify to new international markets. As an introduction, my name is Brennan Loh. I'm Shopify's Director of International Markets, and my team has been responsible with the very important mandate of making commerce better for everyone, everywhere in the world. And as a bit of a background, I've been fortunate to have number one, been at Shopify since 2011 and seen the platform evolve both here in North America as well as all over the world. And also been fortunate to spend the last couple of years meeting merchants and partners from all corners of the globe. It spent some time in Germany last year, in Bangalore, India, and a number of time in Tokyo and Singapore with a lot of our merchants and partners. So hearing their stories and understanding what Shopify needs to do to make commerce better for every one of these markets is something I've been thinking about for a long time, and so excited to spend this time and share those learnings with you. Quick slide on an agenda here. We'll cover 4 topics. The first is going to be the future of commerce and how we're seeing it as a real global opportunity. Some of the trends that not only appear in the data and the stories of our merchants and partners, but also industry-wide. What's happening out there as the world gets smaller in many ways. Number 2, Shopify is growing internationally. What does that mean for partners, and how can you take advantage of that? Number 3, how to begin referring merchants across borders. So this is kind of that topic that says, how do you take all these learnings, and as a partner, how can you implement that into your business? And lastly, as Adam mentioned, we'll have a time for some questions and answers. Hopefully we can get to as many as possible. So with that, I want to jump into the first and probably a really exciting slide for a lot of folks if you haven't already heard about this. Before we get started, I want to remind partners that we're offering a special promotion until November 19th of this year, where you can earn 1.5 times the standard revenue share when you refer merchants in some of our international countries, namely France, Germany, Singapore, and Japan. To clarify for new partners out there, if you are new to the Shopify partner ecosystem or you haven't yet signed up, referrals can be done in 2 different ways. The first is building development shops. Development shops are what partners use to set up a Shopify store for a client. So on behalf of somebody else, setting up a development store and handing it off to a client who becomes a paying Shopify merchant will give you that chance to earn a recurring revenue share as long as you remain an active partner. And so normally this is 20% of a merchant's monthly subscription fee, but with this special offer and for, again, till the end of November this year, you'll earn 30% even after the promotional period ends for those referrals in the applicable countries. So for example, if you're building a store on behalf of a merchant and that merchant uses the Shopify plan, which is a $79 US plan per month, you'll earn $23.70 per month versus the standard $15.80 a month. So that's on the referral side for development shops. The second way is also for affiliates. And so if you are an affiliate, which is a type of Shopify partner that includes entrepreneurs and educators, influencers, or content creators, a number of different great things you can do to engage with entrepreneurial audiences on Shopify, you'll also be able to participate. So you're able to monetize your audience and earn commissions for each new Shopify merchant that you refer. And so normally when you refer a merchant as an affiliate, you'd earn a 200% bounty of the merchant's monthly subscription fee, but during the promotional period, you'll earn 300%. And again, those are for merchants in France, Germany, Japan, and Singapore. We launched this at the end of last year. We've already seen great success, so really encouraging our partners to find a way to participate because it's just a great opportunity for you to be incentivized. Okay, we'll jump to the first slide to really kick things off. As you saw on the agenda, we want to talk a little bit about commerce and how it is quickly shifting global. So we'll begin by this, but generally speaking, we don't think that this trend is necessarily going to surprise anyone hearing it for the first time on this webinar. The data, however, though, is quite interesting. These are 3 stats that we have been looking at as a team, as a company. And the first one here, 70% of e-commerce growth in 2018 happened outside of North America. I'm right now sitting in Ottawa, Canada at our headquarters, and for a lot of businesses that are based in North America, this stat actually can become quite surprising. A lot of new markets out there have been growing e-commerce exceptionally fast, so that's very exciting. The second one, by 2020, alternative payment methods. So this is basically anything that's not a credit card. We think of local bank schemes, we think of digital wallets. They're going to make up over 50% of purchases made by customers. So these are big trends in the payment space that we have to be attentive to. And again, by 2022, we expect 20% of all e-commerce, inbound and outbound sales across the globe will be cross-border. And that differentiates sort of from sales that are happening from a merchant in one country to a customer in another. This is where we feel that there's a lot of trends out there. There's a lot of things happening, which is making it much easier for customers not only to buy from merchants not located in their country, but for merchants to also be able to fulfill those orders. So these are stats that we're seeing industry-wide. They're backed up by some of the things that we're hearing from merchants and partners. And so very important trends to point out. And so in my role as our Director of International Markets, we're constantly thinking about what markets, what countries, what regions are growing, and what can we do as a platform to really give merchants the best possible chance for success. We want to make sure that these merchants have everything they have at their disposal to compete and to win in those markets. And so what I wanted to do was share some of the evaluation criteria that we've used internally to decide which markets, which languages, which local nuances our team has to pay attention to and improve on for the benefit of our merchants. And so what we're doing is we're looking for opportunities that will help us realize scale, both in accessibility but extensibility as the future changes and as we want to extend these to new markets. So the first criteria that we look at is market size. We're spending a lot of time pulling in data, industry data, but data also inside Shopify, household income, discretionary income, online sales potential. How is that market actually shaping up? The second is market fit, and this is a lot of, again, external data, internet usage. We look at English proficiency, for example, or a global entrepreneurial score, whether marketplaces are present in those countries, how familiar are people with the concept of even buying online or selling online. We factor that in. We also consider internal performance and fit. So this looks at how many merchants do we currently have in a certain market, how broad is our partner ecosystem in those countries, do we have people like web designers and developers, people that can speak the language that customers need to, and what are some of the known product conditions within our control? What are some of those features that we know we have to change to be able to make life easier, and how complex are those problems to solve? So all of these considerations are factored in. We're constantly updating them, and that's how we really settle on what markets we're going to be thinking about short term, but also in the medium and long term. So all of this is really happening in parallel, and this is the product. A lot of what we're going to talk about is the product of this research internally. So this visual is a really fun one. A lot of you might remember it from the Black Friday and Cyber Monday visuals that we publish every year. And actually, a fun fact from 2018, we found that just over 18% of all orders placed within Shopify stores during that point in time in 2018 were shipped internationally. And I think this is a statistic that continues to climb every year. And so we're really seeing this in the numbers. We're seeing the light spots coming all over the world. And something that we're really excited about as our team in Shopify in particular. All right, so I want to talk specifically about 4 countries a little bit, although know that the content of this will extend far beyond these 4 countries, and this is sort of a version 1 that we're excited to talk to partners about. You might have heard about this a little bit last year, whether it was at the Unite Partner Conference or some of the Pursuit events that we held around the world. But France, Germany, Japan, and Singapore are focus countries that Shopify has invested in very significantly last year, continuing on into this year, whether that's with people and teams, new partnerships, marketing and product improvements. And since last year, we've been able to grow local teams on the ground in many of these countries. We've opened offices in some of them, including Berlin and Tokyo and Singapore, and we've shipped countless localization features and products for these markets to really help merchants grow their businesses. And one of the important tenets that we operate under as the international team here at Shopify is to act local and build global. And so one of the things that was really important to our company was to make sure that we were putting ourselves close to the customers and to partners as possible to understand how things are actually happening on the ground. It's one thing to listen to this through forums or through support tickets and try and infer some kind of feedback, but it was really important for us to get close to the opportunity and hear that. And so we take those feedback, and when we build new features, when we build product enhancements, we want to make sure that this is not just solving one specific use case and only that use case. We're really trying to build it and architect it in a way that it's possible for us to extend this to as many countries or as many regions as possible, so that many of our merchants don't have to wait many months or many years for these things to roll out. So that's really, speed is important for us, not just in individual markets, but as many as possible. And so while we are expanding globally, it's extremely important to localize our offering in each of these regions. And localizing goes well beyond, say, just translating. When it comes to languages, we want to feel like we are the best solution for merchants in that market. And so that looks at things like languages and shipping methods and payment gateways and sales channels. So the work really it's really important for us to get it right and to make sure quality is really high. And this is a bit of a fun slide to show that that's not really easy to do. Localization is definitely not easy. A language in particular is a very finicky thing. Extracting meaning, understanding context, it's not as simple as translation. And even Google's working to improve on this challenge. But as a global world, we really need to make sure that our merchants feel that they can speak to us in their preferred language, and that extends to partners too. And so this is an ongoing effort. We don't really feel like it's done and we move on. It's something we want to continue to get better at as time goes on. So just a fun point out, localization really never stops. One product feature in particular that we were really excited about to talk about at Unite last year was translations. And last year we launched merchant translations in 6 languages. French, German, Japanese, Spanish, Italian, and Brazilian Portuguese at our Unite conference into beta. There was a great blog post. If you haven't had a chance to read that, I encourage you to go back and check that out. And the feedback has been really, really, really great. Positive feedback from our merchants, many reporting that it's made a tremendous difference in their ability to work in a local language. For some merchants in particular, some of their staff members using Shopify staff accounts weren't able to use the English product, and now that's been able to change. And as a business, and this is important for partners to understand too, we've actually seen our merchant conversion rate coming from leads to customers go up for merchants that are able to experience Shopify from start to finish in their own language. And so this has a really important business impact too, if you are able to use Shopify in your local language. We've also built solid infrastructure that will make more languages and more rollouts easier internally for us. And so we do expect to launch a number of new languages in the near future for the Shopify admin that will go into beta. More news on that coming soon. However, I am excited to share today that in the near future, the Shopify Partner Dashboard will also be translated. In fact, the Partner Dashboard is going to be available in the same 6 languages we've talked about earlier, so French, German, Japanese, Italian, Spanish, and Brazilian Portuguese. We have a full team dedicated to this initiative, and the Partner Dashboard translations that currently are in beta testing right now with some live partners as we work out some of the kinks, but do expect to see that roll out shortly. And we couldn't be more excited to make the Partner Dashboard and product more inclusive as well. But translations also haven't just stopped with the admin. You'll see 4 visuals here, which just give you some visual cues to products or assets you might have seen as a Shopify partner. Beyond translating the admin into the 6 languages mentioned above, you'll see Shopify Support. So both merchant and partner-facing email and social support is now available in the same 6 languages as the merchant admin. That's been exceptionally helpful so that it doesn't just stop with the product. If you have questions, you are able to get help. Landing pages and brochures, marketing content, that Shopify produces. That's also going into new languages. You'll see tons of development there, even beyond the countries we've talked about. A Shopify Help Center, so help.shopify.com, a very, very common and very popular resource for our merchants, as well as some of our partners. That's being translated. And we've also been investing heavily on a content creation side with our local blogs. And these are our merchant-facing blogs, which have been localized both with case studies and feature announcements. Those are also available. And we're excited to be able to communicate with our merchants, inspire our merchants, and educate them in their own language as well. So very exciting developments there. Make sure you've had a chance to review them if you're learning, if you're trying to get caught up with some of the new initiatives. There's lots of content for you there. I want to spend a bit of time now talking a bit about some of the big product areas or the pillars of commerce as we think about them. And the first is in shipping. Filling orders and shipping products to customers quickly and reliably is vital to the success of a merchant's business. In France, Germany, Japan, and Singapore, these countries have some of the best transportation logistics in the world. And that means it's possible to ship in and out of small towns, remote areas, just as easy as it is in big cities. And to help merchants offer quality shipping that customers in these regions and come to expect, we've made local orders and shipping solutions available in the Shopify App Store as our way of helping merchants find the right products for them, find the right integrations for them. And I think spending time in a lot of these international markets, last year I spent time in each of these markets in France, Germany, Japan, and Singapore. There's a lot of nuances that I don't think many people who aren't physically located in those cities truly understand about the nuances of those countries. So for example, in France, it's very normal to select pickup points instead of having a package delivered directly to your home. That applies in a number of different geographies, but in France particularly, that's something that a lot of apps have stepped up and are solving for our customers. In Germany and Singapore, just based on the strength of their logistics network, or in Singapore in particular, the size of its country, a next day delivery or same day delivery even is starting to become standard and expected. And so making sure you're connected into the local couriers is of utmost important. We're also seeing a lot of interesting developments with shipping lockers. I think a lot of countries have started to test out and are now more widely using shipping lockers, more so than in North America for sure. So shipping lockers has been a great way that our app partners have helped connect to that regional nuance. And in Japan, as everything in Japan is often quite different, convenience stores play a very important factor in payments and logistics. And so we have a great network of apps that are thinking about both convenient payments, but also how they factor into the local shipping story. So apps are listed on the slide. We've listened to what a lot of our successful merchants are using. We wanted to provide you some real concrete recommendations that our merchants have been using and feeling good about. So definitely check out the App Store and research some of those yourselves. Removing friction during the payment process has been something that Shopify has been working on and improving on for a very, very long time for merchants all over the world, especially in some of the markets where the technology is just changing so fast. In North America, paying for online purchases with a credit card, it's the norm. It's what we all have come to know. I say we, I was born in Canada here, and many of our merchants and customers are in North America. But this just isn't the case around the world. As you saw earlier, in the next couple of years, we think alternative payment methods like local bank schemes and digital wallets, they'll make up a very, very big part of purchases internationally and online. And so we have to be ready to adapt. And one of the ways that Shopify looks at this is by factoring in local payment providers. And these are the payment providers that let customers check out from stores securely and conveniently in the way that they're used to. And so in the way that's expected in that country. So in Germany, for example, bank transfers or bank-to-bank processing is very common. It's the way most people think of making purchases, and so many want to do this using Support. And to explore all payment providers available in a country, you can go to shopify.com/payment-gateways, and you'll get a full list by country of what's supported within Shopify. But what's more, Shopify Payments, as many of you know, the payment gateway offered by Shopify in select countries, is available and has been available in the US, in Canada, and the UK for quite some time, but has been quickly expanding to a number of other countries. So if you haven't seen these announcements, it is exciting for us because we've been able to bring this to countries like Germany, Japan, Singapore, as well as Hong Kong, Ireland, New Zealand, Spain, Australia, and the list kind of continues to grow. That's something we really expect to add more to in 2019 as well. And Shopify Payments is really meant to alleviate the friction that many merchants face when selecting a payment gateway. So as a refresher, Shopify Payment merchants can see all the sales, they can see all the payout details within their store's admin, and then they can keep track of their money in real time. And merchants also save the third-party service fee that comes on the Shopify plan pricing structure. So they have access to not only getting rid of those fees, but they have access to the payment methods that their customers want. And so in Shopify payment integrations, we work really, really hard with our partners at Google and Apple. So you'll see Google Pay, Apple Pay, even our new product, Shopify Pay, all localized as well. And so, for example, in Germany, Shopify Payments also integrates natively through Sofort and Klarna, and that makes it really a regionally contextual product. So that's something we're proud of. If Shopify Payments isn't yet available in your country, don't worry, we're working really hard. We want as many as we can to. You can still support your customers by offering secure checkout through payment providers like PayPal, like Amazon Pay, Stripe, and many, many more at the URL I just mentioned above, shopify.com/payment-gateways. The third pillar, I think another really important one, you've seen Shopify talk about this a lot, is sales channels. And these are the channels that people are accustomed to buying through, and they vary country by country. To offer functional commerce options to merchants in specific countries, we've worked with a lot of our global partners and a lot of our local on-the-ground teams to integrate with the most popular channels among buyers. And these do vary market to market, so it really does depend in what country you are in. But again, the global partnerships with Shopify has with our partners like Facebook to unlock channels like Facebook or Facebook Messenger or Instagram, as well as many local channels, which will be continuing to launch by market throughout the course of this year. They're very, very important to us. And again, just to tie this into more industry data, in 2019, Facebook had mentioned that they expect to see about 56% of the country using the social network. And so for Shopify, and that's in Singapore, for Shopify's perspective, we really need to help our merchants identify where are their customers and how can we make it as easy as possible for them to sell. So selling through multiple channels is a competitive advantage, we feel. That's a lot of the feedback that I've gotten spending time in market, is that merchants are really excited because it's the Shopify platform that allows them to connect to a lot of these global integrations, especially a lot of the local e-commerce options. They just don't have that kind of that reach. So that's a really important selling factor for us, and it allows them to reach their target audience through the channels they use regularly. Okay, so we'll move on to another part from the agenda. This is how to begin referring merchants across your border. So what do you do with all this information? How can you start acting on it and thinking about this for your own business? Well, anytime you work with international markets or anytime you work with the new countries, it's important to consider how communication, expectation, and business varies from country to country and culture to culture. The way that things are done at home, it's not always the way things are done internationally. I have plenty of examples of ways that I've totally embarrassed myself in foreign countries, not understanding the culture or how things are done. But when it comes to business, sometimes you can't afford to make those mistakes. So although this may take some time and investment on the behalf of some of our partners, especially if you want to create some tailor messaging for merchants or entrepreneurs in France and Germany, Japan, and Singapore, just to name a few, we feel our partners have a really unique advantage, an opportunity to come with us as first movers or pioneers with the Shopify Partner Program into these countries, as it's really a first push for Shopify into a lot of these new markets. So we'll talk a little bit about some tips and tricks that we think apply for our partners here. So as you explore making referrals across borders, we recommend making in-market connections. And I don't think we can stress the importance of how networking and building out your connections to some of these areas, is. And so the first one I think we want to talk about is meeting other local Shopify partners. we've been really fortunate over the years to amass a great network of partners that are not just based in one or two geographies, that are really spread all over the world. And connecting with fellow Shopify partners who have already thought about the regional requirements that you'll likely run into is just a great first step, and a way you don't have to make the same mistakes that they did. Partners in international regions, they're often really eager to connect with other partners. So lots of our potential our partners get together, they strike up mutual beneficial relationships with each other. We really recommend you consider how you can do the same. We'll share some insights there. But from my personal experience, having spent time at events like Pursuit, which we brought internationally last year, and we're excited to do more stops again this year. Come out to those networking events, meet other partners, and often those are facilitated through Shopify directly, but there's also very organic ways of connecting too. You can check out each of the countries' localized Shopify experts listing. So if you go to experts.shopify.com, you can kind of search by key terms of the cities or countries and connect with others. You can join the conversation in Shopify community, which is the Shopify forums, which is very popular. And there's also tons of grassroots communities. I'm so excited to see a lot of the Facebook groups or the Reddit pages that pop up for some of our merchants and partners talking about issues of a certain country. So there's lots of great ideas for inspiration, but also ways to connect with others. This is something that we will continue to build out over the year. Is we get our footprint and get our physical presence in more of these markets. And so, joining us at popular industry events is another great way to put faces to names and meet members of our team. These are a couple of conferences that Shopify will be present at in 2019. So if you are in the area, whether you're in France or Germany or Japan, these are some of the opportunities where you can come. Maybe we're giving a talk and you can see us on stage. Maybe you can just come to a booth at the exhibition hall and say hi. But there'll be a lot of our team available to share insights there. And I think the one big thing that I take away from all of this is our top partners know that going alone can be tough. It can be lonely, but there's no reason why you have to go alone. Now that you've made all these incredible connections, or you've got plans to do so, I think here's how you can work with them. And building connections, expanding your network, it can be a really big win-win. And these are just a couple of ideas of how you can think about doing that. One of them is also to, if you can work with Shopify Partners, great. Otherwise, think about contacting a lot of the local freelancers and agencies that are on marketplaces like Upwork, who can work with you on various projects. If you're not able to find Shopify Partners, the broader communities are a great place to start as well. And some of the projects where we've seen collaborations work really well is in things like translation and localization. So how can you translate, localize your landing pages if you have a blog post for your business? Your advertising copy is a really important one, maybe even the advertising visuals, and more into languages of countries you're targeting. And this is going to open up visibility to a much larger audience, as you know, in new local regions, but it's also going to be a great little hack for you to increase your local search index across some of the popular search platforms. The second one would be targeting local customers in advertising. This is great if you think about a market like Japan, for example. Line messaging service is a very popular messaging service versus, say, Facebook Messenger. LinkedIn tends to be used a lot in Southeast Asia, and so it's popular avenues outside of the ones that you may know and trust are another great way to potentially get your reach out there. And then the last one is collaboration is also really important when you're trying to navigate local business requirements, and that can be in more unique cultural nuances, but it could also be in really formal legal ones, like the local laws that you need to understand if you're going to work in a market like Germany, where there is an emphasis on GDPR. And that's a topic that got a lot of coverage in last year. So if you're not as familiar about it, a partner maybe will help you with that. This slide is a personal favorite of mine. This is I think it's important to be able to target potential and existing merchants, but it's also important to be clear about what you offer and how you can help them. So as a partner who performs development shop referrals or services existing merchants, this is the list of top merchant challenges that we actually pulled out of the 2018 merchant survey. And we do the survey every year. and it does change depending on what Shopify has released and changed. So it is a really good resource. And this is what our merchants are telling us that they like help with, and they need work of partners in some cases. So always start out by mapping opportunity to what merchants are telling us they're struggling with. It's the easiest way to know if there is demand for whatever you're going to do. And from our 2018 merchant survey, as you can see here, storefront customization, shipping and logistics, store setup and marketing are those top four. So if you do think you have an avenue and maybe you've done a great job solving it for merchants in the UK or in Australia, consider how those same problems need to be solved for some of our local markets. And so consider this when you're looking into some of the new international regions for inspiration. Another way to contribute in the expansion and participate in this journey with Shopify is as a Shopify affiliate. And help build awareness in new markets with thought leadership and educational content. For example, successful and popular types of content that Shopify affiliates create and have created in French and German, Japanese, and in Singapore for audiences includes things like educational courses that can be delivered over YouTube, blog posts, email marketing campaigns. They're doing tons of online and in-person workshops these days for entrepreneurs, how to get started, one-on-one coaching sessions, even great podcasts out there, not even run by Shopify, but some of our partners to talk about Shopify specific issues. And I'd love to give a shout out because I've had the chance to meet a lot of really great partners. In Singapore in particular, we've seen Zion, who's just done really unique things with in-person workshops, Zion marketing. In Japan, we found a couple of great YouTubers, Chris Monson, which is one of them, inspiring people with entrepreneurial content on YouTube. These are just samples. There's plenty of other things that are going on. Some partners are doing them great. Some partners haven't even discovered them yet. So I'd encourage you to think about where you could contribute to that message. And I think if there's one thing I'd like to stress on the demand generation, the building awareness side, is awareness of Shopify is a lot lower in international regions compared to some of the markets where we've been present for a long time, like the US, the UK, Canada, Australia. And so there's really a huge opportunity for Shopify affiliates to fill this gap using what we've talked about and get ahead of the messaging that might not even exist from Shopify yet to bring visibility to those markets. Okay, app developers, for any developers out there, I think another way to partners earn revenue is creating apps, as many of you know, and you can list those apps on the Shopify App Store. The developer terms are really generous. We're really excited about them. Shopify App Store partners receive 80% of the revenue that they make from their apps. And so if you're a Shopify developer, how can you think about international in this way? Well, you may want to consider exploring localizing your app if you have an app out there and maybe it's just in English. There's great localization opportunities available for you to make some small tweaks potentially and increase your downloads. Translating them, localizing them, potentially even filling in brand new gaps. So as part of our international roadmap, Shopify now includes merchant locale in certain responses that are available to Shopify parts via the Shopify API. And what that means is if you're able to know where your merchant is located, someone is using your app, this actually lets you customize the experience that you show on your app to provide a better experience for merchants. There's also some great development resources. I'm imagining it at Unite coming up in June. We'll be talking more about partner resources, but one of the ones there's a translation API that's recently come out, I think, into beta, or it's just about to leave beta. This allows third-party apps to read and write translations for all buyer-facing content. So if you're looking for buyer-facing content for products or collections or blogs, and your app interacts with that content, you can use the API to access translations with easy changes. So that's a really great way to help localize the experience for merchants. But if you feel like your app is already helping merchants in a specific geo to save time and save money, we also do have a country-specific app section. If you're in the App Store, you can see one of the tabs. I think it's near categories. You can let us know if you think it's something that's solving a very specific issue. The partner support channel is a great way to just contact them, and they know what to do. We also encourage you to look at creating new apps. And if you're located today listening to this webinar in one of those countries we've talked about, and you think that there's a gap in the market, we'd love to work with you. So absolutely consider thinking about those gaps out there. Okay, lastly, before we get to question and answers, what's next? Well, kind of in conclusion, each country presents different opportunities as well as challenges. We all know that. We're committed to bringing Shopify to merchants around the world as our team, as the international team, as well as the broader Shopify group. And we believe Shopify can be a great long-term fit for entrepreneurs everywhere. Now, in the medium and long term, there's going to be continued investment in these countries. We have an active presence in a lot of them. So in the community events, both online and in person, at industry events, as we've showed you, there's a great way to participate with us there. Shopify Pursuit, as I mentioned earlier, last year hit the road. We were in a lot of fun international countries. We were in India, Germany, Australia, the US, the UK. And so that allows us to connect with partners. We're going to do some fun stuff with Pursuit again. And then there's meetups, and meetups take all different shapes and sizes. A lot of them are run by our partners, which we love, and they get very, very creative with that. They're bringing Shopify and the brand, as well as their services, much closer to merchants to put faces to names and to work offline together. So it's awesome stuff on the meetup side. The product is going to go through lots more changes. We're really excited. A lot of features coming. Extensibility is really, really key. So language, for example, the merchant admin, the partner admin we talked about, a lot of great things on the horizon. So as we look to 2019 and beyond, Shopify is going to continue expanding into new countries. We are, however, really excited about the work that we've done in Germany, in France, in Japan, and Singapore. We're really, happy to be able to offer our partners a chance to partake in that with the promotion we talked about a little bit earlier. And we want to, benefit from a lot of the similarities that we're finding in languages and product needs and proximities for not just those 4 countries, but beyond. So with that, I'm going to hand things back over to Adam. I want to try and answer as many questions as you guys have today, but thank you very much for those of you that listen to this. And Adam, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Brennan. That was such a great presentation. So we got a lot of questions, and we are just pulling the first one out now. And okay, so the first question is, I may have the chance to build a Shopify store for a current client, a Shopify store for Chinese affiliate. Will Shopify translate work I do, skinning the store into Chinese, product descriptions, alt tags, etc.?
Okay, great question. Number one, that's incredible. We're excited to see a lot of these countries pop up on our radar. Some of them not as common as others. In this case in particular, the answer is no. Shopify does not currently have a solution to help with that directly, although, as you saw in the presentation, we really recommend working with our local partners. And if you do go to experts.shopify.com, you will see that we do have a number of partners who are listed in market, whether that is in China or surrounding areas with those skills. And if you don't have much success there, again, the marketplaces such as Upwork can help with the skill of translating. At this point in time, I think the best thing to do would be to find another partner who can help you with those skills in particular, although that is an area that we would love to get a lot better at. So we'll pass that feedback along internally to the product teams so that we can do a lot more of that. But exciting to hear those referrals are coming in.
Okay, so next question is, would it be possible to control client stock inventory in the US and be connected to a China store stock?
I think in this case particular, merchant can have inventory in multiple locations. That's something we released last year, which was more flexibility over where you can control inventory and locations. I would recommend take a look at the location support docs though. If you have any questions, again, give our gurus a call. You can learn a little bit more about that feature in particular, but there is a good article published on the help.shopify.com center about the nuances of multi-location. So that would be my recommendation. Check out that link or give our gurus a call if you want to go deeper into that in particular.
Okay, great. So next question is, why does Shopify stop referral from App Store? So if you have the referral in the URL ID, this was counted previously, but not now.
And I did not know that, so I'll pass the feedback back to the apps team into our larger partnerships team to see if there was a bigger reason for that. I do encourage people though to take advantage of the affiliate links that are available in their partner dashboards, to send to potential prospects. Use the development store. A development store path we talked about at the very beginning of the webinar for partner tracking. However, I'll pass the feedback along. I'm not sure if there was something intentional, but we'll certainly look into that. But I do definitely recommend for partners, take advantage of the affiliate link, take advantage of the development stores. That makes everything fully tagged appropriately. And that connection just is a lot easier coming from that mechanism.
Okay, so this Shopify partner has asked, is there a B2B network available through Shopify? For example, if we are looking for a distributor in a foreign market who also uses Shopify, is there a forum for that?
Yeah, what a great question, and what an interesting space. I think that's something that I've personally heard from partners and actually many merchants internationally now. Again, the global borders are starting to become a bit more invisible. I think in this particular case, my recommendation would be join the conversation in the community areas or the Shopify forums. I think we rebranded that to the Shopify community now, and have a bigger conversation there. There are, I should say, a lot of partners who are located in these regions, thanks to the breadth and the distribution of Shopify merchants internationally right now. A lot of them are eager to strike up these conversations. So I think for these specific business opportunities, the community is the best place to have that conversation.
So the next question, this partner has asked, how do we handle region-specific SKUs? They say they have a client that only wants to sell certain SKUs to certain countries, regions.
Yeah, I think as we get into more like the more regional requirements of a merchant that has a store that offers products or works with customers in a number of different countries, these nuances come in. The recommendation that I've seen most common for this, and I'm gonna talk about quickly an app that I've come across called Locksmith. I think it's a paid app. It does come with a free trial if my memory serves me correctly, but this is where the App Store, I think, becomes really, really exciting because developers have seen this as a challenge that many merchants are facing. And so this is not unique. Obviously, the business requirement on the merchant's part is unique, but it's something that is fairly common now, and merchants have voiced up that concern enough where developers, I think, have really taken up the challenge to build apps to fill that. So Locksmith's the one that I've heard of before. Give it a look. If you aren't satisfied or if it doesn't meet the needs, connect to the Guru team. The Guru team is would certainly have seen this question before, and probably could have other recommendations to offer.
So this person wants to know where they can find out more information about the special offer you were talking about at the beginning of the webinar.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. If you want to learn more about this special offer we talked about, you can visit the partner section of the Shopify Help Center, and you can select I think it's the Shopify Partner Revenue Share. There's a document there that's going to give you all the details about the promotions that we've talked about on this webinar, as well as some other questions or other answers that maybe weren't brought up. So go to the Shopify Help Center, then you can search for Shopify Partner Revenue Share. There should be a document there.
So this person wants to know, how can they become an affiliate?
Great. Well, welcome to Shopify. If you are brand new, if you haven't already done so, the first thing to do would be just to sign up as a Shopify partner. It's easy, it's free, and you can go to shopify.com/partners to do that. Once you've signed up, you'll log into the partner dashboard. That's like the administrative console for you, and you'll see a tab for affiliates. In some cases, it's a quick, and in some cases, you'll see a link right away that says you can apply to become a Shopify affiliate. Very quick, very simple. The affiliate team is just going to ask you a couple of questions. They'll get back to you really quickly, and once you're approved, you can start making a referral right away. And that's through the referral link that we've been talking about. So that would be the best case. Sign up to become a Shopify partner. Look in the affiliates tab. There'll be a very, very obvious button to click, and within a couple of days, likely you'll have everything you need to start referring to Shopify.
So next question is, what is the advantage of a merchant working with a foreign agency versus their own country?
Great question. I think that this is where my personal experience has seen so many different reasons for why a merchant would decide to do that it's hard to say that it's always for the same reason. In some cases, a merchant is looking to sell more intentionally to a market where they're just not familiar, nor is the partner they may be working with previously familiar with that landscape, and so they're looking for some expertise. And that might not necessarily be in just how to do store setup. That could be in marketing, for example. How do I connect with someone who can help me with marketing? The foreign agencies. Also, so foreign agencies in some cases will number one, they'll know the local nuances of what it takes to run a business or set up a store in a certain market. They may have a certain skill set that's really important. For example, if you're looking to connect your Shopify store into some of the popular marketplaces or some of the other sales channels there, they may be able to build in sort of integrations custom for your needs. So there's so many different regions. Many merchants, international regions, they're looking to sell outside of their country. So in particular, our data has shown a lot of our merchants in Asia, in Europe, more so than North America, for example, are having a larger percentage of their orders go outside of their borders than inside their borders. So this is, I think, where a foreign agency isn't a must, but it's something that a lot of our merchants don't necessarily feel like they know everything about. And so contacting another agency, even if they have one already, becomes a very popular avenue.
Okay, I'm just keeping an eye on the time. We've got time for just 2 more questions before we have to wrap up. So the first one is, when will Shopify have the partner translations done?
Man, really, hopefully really soon. It's something that I'm so excited for this feature because I think that while giving the opportunity for our merchants to have Shopify in the language that makes sense for them, partners are so crucial to the Shopify ecosystem. We talk about this all the time. This is the feature I'm really excited about. It's in beta, as I mentioned. So we do have a full team that's working very, very hard on it. It's in beta. I've seen the work in progress product, and it looks really, really great. However, I think we have been working with a select number of partners just to get some of the hard stuff right and be able to ship that out very, very soon. So there's no date definitively on that yet, but you can be sure that on the different partner communication avenues, whether that's the newsletter, the email, the blog, we'll be talking about this when it comes out. And so I'm very excited for it, but fingers crossed, very, very soon.
Okay, and our final question is, what countries are next?
What countries are next? Yeah. So I kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the presentation, which is the one of the greatest things of Shopify is that we've been an international company supporting international merchants for a very, very long time. We've had merchants in 100 plus different countries for as long as I've been at Shopify, and they're doing incredible, exceptional things. So number one, using Shopify in just about any country has been possible for quite some time. I think our team is really excited to make it easier. Because just because it's possible doesn't mean it's easy. And as you know, from Shopify, we want to really empower entrepreneurs. We want to make commerce better for everyone. And so that's why we added the everywhere tag. But it's going international is hard work. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of things we just don't know yet that we're learning. And that's kind of why we started with a small number of countries, with Germany, France, Singapore, and Japan, because there's just so much that we want to do. We have really, really big ambitions. So we will, as I mentioned, continue to invest in those countries. However, we're not using that as a blocker for our ability to launch new features and new services to other international markets. And so the two examples that I use, which just thematically talk about how our ambition is global and we're not trying to release or batch release country focuses. When we released languages in the early part of 2018, we also included Spanish, Italian, Brazilian, Portuguese, and it was because of the work that we did for some of those early countries that allowed us to do that. So languages will be another one that we want to release to more languages very, very shortly. And Shopify Payments is also the other feature, a service that we've been working on. So merchants in Hong Kong, in Spain, in Ireland, and New Zealand, they've also seen the benefit of Shopify Payments. Again, we have more markets that we want to bring out in the near future. So I don't actually think that we'll be talking about individual countries in the near future, because I think that the features across all the teams in Shopify are going to have global aspirations from day one. Yeah, we're excited to do this promotion in particular for country. We hope to be able to do more promotions and just foster our community, our Shopify community, but lots going on. And honestly, in the time that we've done this webinar, there's probably more features that are launched. Who knows? So we're picking it up quick, and very excited to share that with our partners as soon as they become available.
Awesome. Thank you, Brennan. Thanks for all the content and everything you said and all the answers you gave to the Shopify partners. So I just want to let people know, if they do have a question and it wasn't answered, they can receive help through the contact form in your partner dashboard or via the live chat on the resources page. I'll share instructions for those that are able to access local support in 6 different countries in the chat box, and you'll be able to get your question answered there. So thank you again for everyone's attendance today, and we hope you enjoyed our webinar.